Spotify is a rare example of a product that is almost universally used and loved, yet for most of its history, it was considered a broken business. Usually, global scale creates massive profits. Tech giants like Google or Netflix rely on that growth to generate billions. But for nearly 20 years, Spotify broke that logic, bleeding cash and accumulating deeper losses the larger it grew. This happened because of the company's underlying structure. Spotify was built on a variable cost model, punishing them every time a user pressed play. Profitability wasn't just a matter of optimization. The company was trapped inside a business model specifically designed to prevent it. The architects of this trap were the music industry's dominant suppliers, Universal, Sony, and Warner. Under their licensing terms, for every dollar Spotify generates, approximately 70 cents is immediately paid out to these rights holders. As a commodity platform, Spotify must offer every song in the world to remain relevant. That requirement gives the labels absolute leverage to dictate these payout terms. Most tech companies achieve operating leverage by keeping costs flat as they add new users. But at Spotify, costs and revenue are locked together on a parallel track, preventing the profit explosion typical of the sector. Streaming music exclusively meant that scale only made Spotify a larger hostage to its suppliers, rather than a true tech giant. Spotify agreed to this arrangement in 2008 because the music industry was dying. Digital file sharing had destroyed the traditional concept of musical scarcity, making piracy hard to compete with. The labels were used to a high-margin world of physical distribution, where they controlled every step of how a consumer accessed an album. Early digital efforts like Apple's iTunes missed the reality of internet abundance by trying to sell ownership of individual tracks, a model that struggled to keep pace with the scale of the web. Spotify's solution was the freemium wedge, a legal ad-supported tier that was more convenient than piracy, which they used as a massive funnel to eventually convert users into paid subscribers. This model successfully rescued the recorded music industry, but it also anchored Spotify's own profitability to the suppliers they had just saved. Daniel Ek realized they could never win a war of variable costs. He redefined the core product as audio in all its forms, looking past music alone. This led to a massive reallocation of capital. Spotify spent over €1 billion acquiring top podcast studios, new distribution tech, and exclusive personalities. They followed this by building a massive library of over 400,000 audiobooks, further diluting their reliance on the music labels. The financial logic was simple. Unlike music royalties, Spotify doesn't surrender 70% of its podcast revenue. They can negotiate a 50-50 split or better. By building their own programmatic ad marketplace, they created an infrastructure to monetize free users more efficiently than they ever could through music streaming. These moves changed Spotify's position in the market. They left the limitations of music licensing to own a high-margin creator toolchain. By the first quarter of 2026, the aftermath of this strategic pivot was clear. After years of mounting losses, the company executed a hard shift toward profitability. This included a ruthless focus on operational efficiency, with a 20% workforce reduction designed to force fixed costs down. They also tested their newfound leverage by implementing multiple subscription price increases in major markets. Because the algorithm and personalized playlists were now deeply embedded in users' daily habits, customer churn was almost non-existent, despite the higher monthly costs. In Q1 2026, the growth numbers defied expectations. Spotify hit 761 million users and 293 million premium subscribers. Blending audio formats broke the margin trap, pushing gross margins to 33%. Operating income skyrocketed 40%, while earnings per share tripled. The results confirm the strategy. Moving out of a single supplier-controlled vertical was the only way to convert their massive reach into actual profit. By combining operational efficiency with an expansion into owned media, Spotify escaped the label margin trap and built a profitable global audio ecosystem.